Hey everyone, today's lesson is dividing rational numbers is on dividing fractions. This is 2.5. This is half the section. This one is going to be on dividing fractions, and your next one will be on dividing decimals. So let's get started with some vocab to start. So the first word we have is quotient. And quotient is the answer to a division problem. So whenever we have a division problem, the answer to that problem is called a quotient. The next one we have is the divisor, and that is the number that divides into another number. So if I have 4 divided by 2, this 2 is my divisor because it's dividing into 4. If it's a long division 1, the number that's dividing into the other number is 3. So 3 is dividing into 24. So divisor is a number that's dividing into another number. And then the dividend is the number that is being divided. So that would be the first number. So again, if we had 4 divided by 2, the 4 then is the dividend. The 2 is the divisor. The answer is the quotient. And if we have it as long division, we have the dividend for this one would be 24. The divisor is 3, and the answer would be the quotient. Then we have mixed number. This is a review from earlier in our chapter, but a mixed number is a number that contains an integer and a proper fraction. So it has a whole number, like 3 and 1/3. It has a whole integer, which is 3, and then a proper fraction, which is 1/3. An improper fraction would be if this was not a mixed number, we'd have 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1. So 10/3 would be our improper fraction. And an improper fraction is a fraction where the numerator is greater than the denominator. So since 10 is bigger than 3, that's an improper fraction. So we do not want that to be our answer. So we need to then change it into our mixed number, which is 3 and 1/3. So these are the same, but we do not want an improper fraction as our answer. And then we have reciprocal, which goes with what we're doing today. So if we had a fraction, let's say we had 7/10, the reciprocal is when you flip a fraction. So the numerator and the denominator are going to switch spots. So I'm going to flip it, and the reciprocal of 7/10 would be 10/7. So that would be the reciprocal. I flipped the numerator to the bottom and the denominator to the top, and that is my reciprocal. So please pause the video here and write these in your notes. Not sure why it's not popping up. There you go. And we will move on. So the steps for dividing fractions. There's 4 simple steps for dividing fractions. The first one is one that you guys are pretty familiar with, and that's keep, change, flip. So we need to keep our first fraction or first number the same. We're going to change our division sign and change it into a multiplication sign. And then we're going to flip the second number to the reciprocal. So we're going to keep the first number, change the sign, flip the second fraction over. After we do that, we need to then look and do our cancellation method we learned in our last section. And we're going to use the cancellation method to reduce the fractions before we multiply across, because it makes it a lot easier if we simplify first than if we have to at the end. After we use our cancellation method, we need to just multiply across. We're going to multiply across the numerators and then multiply across the denominators. And then the last step is to check your answer. We need to check to make sure that it's reduced to the lowest fraction, because all of our answers need to be in the lowest possible fraction. We need to check to make sure it's not an improper fraction, and check to make sure it's correctly labeled positive or negative. So we're using those multiplication rules to see if it's positive or it's negative. So please pause the video here and write these 4 steps down in your notes. We're going to be using them a lot today. And then we'll move on to some examples. So here's our first example. We have negative 1/5 divided by 7/4. So the first thing I need to do is I need to do my keep, change, flip. So I'm going to keep my first number the same. I'm going to change my division sign to multiply. And then I'm going to flip my 7/4 and change that to 4/7. Next, I need to see if there's anything I could cancel. So I have a 1 here, which is already the lowest number, so I can't do anything with that. I have a 5 here. No other numbers going to 5. No other numbers going to 4, and no other numbers going to 7. So there's nothing I need to cancel on this one. So then I move to my next step, and I just multiply across. So 1 times 4 gives me 4. Multiply the denominators. 5 times 7 gives me 35. I cannot reduce this. This is a proper fraction, but then let's see. I have a negative times a positive, so that means my answer is going to be negative. So I've done all 4 of my steps, and my final answer then is negative 4/35. Here's my next example. I have 2/5 divided by 4/10. So again, my first step is keep, change, flip. So I need to keep my first number the same, change my division to multiply, and then flip my fraction to the reciprocal. So instead of 4/10, it's now going to be 10/4. Now I need to look to see if there's anything I can cross or I can cancel out. So I have my 2 and my 4 here, and I know that those are both even numbers, so I can divide both of those by 2. So I'm going to do that to start. So I have 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. Now I have 5 and 10. Those are both divisible by 5. So I'm going to do that to both numbers. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. So now that I've done my cross cancel, I move on to step 3, and I just multiply across. So I have 1 times 2, which gives me 2. And then I have 1 times 2 again, which gives me 2. So my answer would be 2/2. But that doesn't seem like a good fraction to use because they're both the same numbers. If I have 2/2, that ends up equaling 1/2. So my final answer for this one would be 1/2 because we wouldn't want to use 2/2 as a fraction. All right, my final example, I have 1/9 divided by 1 1/3. So here I have a mixed number. And the first thing I'm going to do before I even do my keep, change, flip is I'm going to change my mixed number into an improper fraction because it makes it a lot easier to multiply when it's an improper fraction. So to do that, I need to take my 1 and times it by 3, which is 3, and then plus this top 1 to it. So 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 gives me 4. So my improper fraction is 4 over 3. And now I can do my keep, change, flip. So I'm going to keep my first number, or my first fraction, the same. Change my division to multiply. And then flip my fraction of 4 over 3 to the reciprocal, which is 3 over 4. Now I need to see if there's anything I could cross cancel. So I'm going to look at this 1 first, and 1 is already the lowest number, so the 1 can't be reduced anymore. Is there anything else that can be reduced? I have a 3. 3 and 4 don't go together, but 3 and 9 do go together. And both 9 and 3 can be divided by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now I move on to step 3 of my process, which is multiply the numerators. 1 times 1 is 1. And then multiply my denominators. 3 times 4 gives me 12. So this is now the lowest possible fraction could be. It's a proper fraction. There's no negatives, so my answer is going to stay positive. So my final answer is 1/12, or 1 over 12. So this is the end of the video for today. You're going to have an assignment with about 10 problems to do for dividing fractions. Make sure that you actually write the problems down, flip your fraction over, do your cross cancellation, and multiply across. Remember, if you get a bigger number on top, you need to then change it into a mixed number for your solution. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys soon.